page 11 in our notes, and this is standard NS.4. NS.4 Distributive property using GCF. Distributive property using GCF. And if you remember, that was greatest common factor. Put a box around this. And your directions that you're going to see when you do this particular assignment is going to say rewrite using the distributive property in GCF. So I'm going to abbreviate it DP for distributive property and GCF, meaning the greatest common factor. And they're going to give you an example. So I'm going to skip a line here. I'm going to come down. The example problem that I'm giving you is 36 plus 8. And how do you rewrite it using the distributive property and GCF? Well, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to leave this line blank and come down another line. I want this blank right below the 36, the plus right below that, and a blank below the 8. You're going to put big parentheses, so these are in parentheses, and then you're going to have a line out here, and we're going to label this GCF. And then you have to use your ladder method to find the greatest common factor between 36 and 8. So over here, you're going to write 36, 8, and we're going to break this down using the ladder method. What prime number can we put on the outside that goes into both of these? That would be 2. So when I take 36 and divide by 2, I get 18. I'm going to take 8 divided by 2, I get 4. So do I make another rung on the ladder? Is there another number that goes into 18 and 4? Yes. That number is 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 9 and 2, nothing else. You could put another number in that would simplify those down. So your GCF, if you remember, you multiply these. So your GCF is 4. And then the 9 and the 2 are actually your blanks when you solve this problem. So here's how this works. Rewrite 36 plus 8 using the distributive property in GCF. So your GCF goes here. Our GCF was 4. That goes in this blank. 4 times this blank equals 36. And why am I multiplying it? Anytime you see a number right next to parentheses, it means that you're going to multiply. So 4 times what gives us 36? Our answer is 9. That's true. 4 times 9 is 36. And then 4 times this blank has to give us 8. 4 times 2 gives us 8, and that was this blank here. So your answer, they want you to write it in this form. So your answer, nice and neat, is going to be 4, parentheses, 9 plus 2, close parentheses. You can box in your answer. That's what they're looking for. Draw a line. Let's do another example. Move this up so you can see. Your next example is the same directions, rewrite using distributive property in GCF, but now I want 15 plus 25. How we set this problem up before is we skip a line, we come down one more, we put a blank under the 15, the plus right underneath the plus, and a blank under 25. We make big parentheses, and then we label out here, this one is our GCF. So we got to find the greatest common factor between 15 and 25. We can use the ladder method. 15 and 25. Do we make a rung on the ladder? Is there a number that goes into both? Yep, 5. If you divide both by 5, 15 divided by 5 is 3. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And 3 and 5 are both prime. Nothing else will go into them. So your GCF is 5, and then here's your blanks. So you put your GCF out here next to the parentheses, which means you need to multiply by everything inside. 5 times the first blank should give us 15, and I want you doing these little lines to show it. 5 times what is 15? 3, and that's where you have this one. And then 5 times the second blank is 25, and you would put a 5 here, and that's your blank there. So your answer, nice and neat, that they want you to write it in without the little blanks, is 5, parentheses, 3 plus 5, close parentheses. And there's your answer, nice and neat, for that problem. We're going to draw a line. We're going to do another example. Same directions. You're going to rewrite using the distributive property, and greatest common factor. The next example we're going to do is 9 plus 12. and we leave a blank. We come down and put a blank under the 9, a blank under the 12, and then the plus sign goes here. These are our parentheses. And out here we label this line GCF. So we need to find the greatest common factor between 9 and 12. Some people can see it, but if you need to, you're going to put 9 and 12 in the ladder. Divide them both by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. You can't have any other numbers that go into both. So the greatest common factor is the one on the side, 3. And then your blanks will be these two. So if I put a 3 out here for this blank, 3 times the first blank should give us 9, and that answer is 3. And 3 times the second blank should give us 12, and that answer is 4. So your answer, nice and neat without these blanks in here, is 3 parentheses 3 plus 4 close parentheses. And they want you to write it like that in that form. Going to do another example. Move this up. The next example, very similar, but now I'm going to do 20 minus 15. Same concept. You leave a blank here. You come down to the next line. I want you to put a blank under the 20 and a blank under the 15. Instead of add in between, it's now subtract. Your parentheses are on each side, and this blank you're labeling GCF. So what's the greatest common factor between 20 and 15? Some people see it. They see that it's 5, and 5 times this blank should give us 20. 5 times what's 20? 4, and 5 times this blank is 15, and that's 3. So nice and neat, our answer is 5 parentheses 4 minus 3 close parentheses. Box in your answer. Would like to do one more example with you. Rewrite using the distributive property and greatest common factor. Same directions. Put 2 stars. This one's important. It is 4 plus 8, and it seems pretty basic, but some people mess this one up. So leave your space here, come down a line, blank under the 4, your plus right underneath, blank under the 8. All of this is in parentheses, and this line out here we label GCF. Okay, so what I want to make sure that you do here is like 4 and 8 to find the greatest common factor. You have to put a 2 out here. Dividing both by 2, you're going to end up with 2 and 4. If you divide those both by 2, you end up with 1 and 2. So your GCF, when you multiply the ones on the side, is going to be 4. And then you have your blanks right here. So put 4 out here. 4 times this blank is 4, and I will put a 1 there. And 4 times this blank is 8, which is 2. So nice and neat, it is 4 parentheses 1 plus 2 close parentheses, box in your answer. Why did I put stars in your notes here? Some people will not put a 4 out here. Some people will say, and I'm going to write it here because I have room, they're going to write 2 parentheses 2 plus 4. And they're going to say, yeah, that works. Because when I take 2 times 2, that gives me that 4. And when I take 2 times 4, that gives me 8. The problem with writing it this way, it works, but this number right here, 2, is not the GCF. The GCF, or the greatest common factor, is actually 4. So this works, but they still have a greater common factor they could have on the outside. So I want to write this in our notes. This works, comma, but 2 is not the GCF. It is not the greatest common factor. 4 is actually the greatest common factor. This still works to multiply to get the answer, but we have to use the greatest common factor on the outside. So that's why we use our ladder method to help us find the GCF. So your homework, your practice that you're going to do with this homework, it's going to be a distributive property worksheet. It's actually a half page. You are going to do all 12 problems. And you're going to need a sheet of paper, and I'm going to want you writing it, leaving a space, and then putting this down below just like that on all 12. And there's going to be a few of them that are kind of tricky, so you need to make sure you're using the ladder method to find the greatest common factor, and make sure you don't just put a 2 or a 3 out here when there might be a larger number or a greater common factor that goes into both.